Although it is not yet 100% sure, judging from this era and the series of actions of the woman on the opposite side, it is indeed very likely that the demon girl is the sweet fruit of this era. And just now, although she is far less beautiful than the original Lee Boya Hancock, but because of the series of teasing, action, but also because of the possible enhancement effect of the sweet fruit itself, Sha Luo is also in an instant. There was a turmoil in my heart. That would be bad. You have to get rid of the momentary fascination with her. But how do I get rid of it? In Sha Luo's heart, thoughts flew in an instant. There is. In an instant, Sha Luo suddenly remembered the medical method that Chopper took for Sanji 2 years later in the original book when he saw a beautiful woman with a nosebleed. That's it. Sha Luo frowned. The next moment, the fat, big-mouthed Big Mom in the original book appeared before him, proposing to him. Cuckoo. In an instant, Sha Luo felt like she was going to vomit. It's like Sanji being proposed by a she-male. At the same time, on the opposite side, I could only hear the coquettish, glamorous, woman's charming, low drink. Marrow marrow mellow. The next moment, a faint, pink-colored invisible wind swept past Sha Luo in a large area. Crack. Outside, 2 of the men and women who had passed by were affected and instantly petrified. On the battlefield, Sha Luo was still holding on to her heart. Although the Charlotte Linlin he saw after crossing over was actually a pretty good-looking woman, but imagine that he married the later Big Mom in the original book, he still has a kind of birth without birth, lovely feeling. What? Opposite, the coquettish woman Guy Lee was shocked at this time. His own marrow marrow mellow didn't work for him? This is impossible. He was clearly attracted to himself before he made his move. But now, not only did he not petrify, but he put his hands on his heart, with an expression of hopelessness on his face. What was going on? Marrow marrow mellow has passed. But to be on the safe side, Sha Luo still imagined the situation in which Big Mom proposed to him in the original book, so as to completely remove the previous turbulent emotions. And his imagination is also based on reality. Because Charlotte Linlin did say personally that he wanted him to be her husband. Therefore, it is even more sad to think about it at this time. MD, I really want to vomit. Seeing him like this, not only the bewitching girl Guy Lee, but also the nearby man with sunglasses, Gino, and Whitebeard on Sha Luo's side, were all surprised. I didn't even get hit? Gino, the man in sunglasses, exclaimed in surprise. I heard that after fighting with some officials of the Thor pirates, many of them have turned into stone statues. It seems that it is you. Whitebeard remembered some rumors that he had occasionally inquired about, and looked at the outside. The 2 who were petrified said at this time, Sha Luo, are you alright? In fact, what he really wants to say is that you have not been petrified, which is very reassuring, but what is going on with the expression on your face that you want to vomit? It's nothing. Sha Luo waved her hand, who is on the other side, it's too nauseating. You fight first, I'll vomit for a while. You. Hearing his words, the bewitching, lustful, woman Guy Lee almost jumped into a frenzy. Madam makes you nauseated. Even nauseated to the point where the effects of marrow marrow mellow are cancelled out? It's you stupid idiot who doesn't have eyes, right? Think about how many marines and pirates have been directly attracted and petrified by themselves in the past 10 years, and you can know how outstanding their beauty is. She can be said to be the most beautiful woman in this sea. But, today, this kid actually evaluates himself like this? Die. Absolutely gouge out your eyeballs, and then kill with one knife at a time. Because of the rage, the bewitching, sexy, woman Guy Lee, and even Zui Kakuzu twitched. Gu La 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 and Whitebeard, at this time, laughed bluntly. That kind of show-off stuff is really disgusting when you look at it, little friend, your vision is not low. You bastard. Hearing Whitebeard's words, the bewitching, Yan, woman Guy Lee, couldn't help but get even more furious. Then he looked at the man in sunglasses next to him. Kino, kill them immediately. Ah. Kino said in a relaxed manner after hearing Guy Lee's words, I won't rob you of your prey. Nonsense, you don't need to grab it. Kill the one with Whitebeard immediately, Guy Lee said. Said and looked at the opposite Sha Luo. The old lady will solve this boy herself. Then, let's begin. Gino said, raised his right arm, and on his right hand, it had already turned into a large group of flames. Oh? Seeing this scene, Whitebeard's pupils moved slightly. This ability person has also heard about it, but I didn't expect it to be this guy. The top players of the Thor pirates, the Logia capable person. Fire punch. With a low drink, Kino punched Whitebeard. Fire punch. Gino let out a low drink. In an instant, I saw a large group of flames, forming a huge fist, rushing towards Whitebeard like a tiger. Seeing this, nearby, Sha Luo frowned. Damn, I won't complain about Whitebeard versus Diamond Fruit just now, and this is followed by another, Whitebeard versus Fire Fist. What the hell is it? Diamond Fruit, Mara Fruit, these are the fruits that Whitebeard's later sons ate. So, now it's lousy beat son. Seeing the huge fist of flame attack, Whitebeard immediately raised his naginata and swung it hard. On the naginata, it was not only because of the powerful armament haki that was entangled, but also because of Whitebeard's own strength. In an instant, a strong wind pressure was generated, just like the slashing of a top swordsman, facing the huge fire fist, slashing. Go up. Boom. The strong wind pressure and the giant fist of the flame collided with each other, and a hot airflow suddenly rolled up around them. And the fist of flames rolled towards the surroundings in an instant, like a raging wave. However, in the direction facing Whitebeard, a large number of flames were seen, but they suddenly retreated. What? Seeing this, Gino's pupils could not help shrinking. He even used a knife to cut back the flames. Is there anyone in the world with such ability? It's something I've never thought of and heard of. It's a good ability. Whitebeard smiled disapprovingly on the opposite side, but, if that's it, let's light candles on your own grave. Damn it. Hearing this, Kino was furious. Then, from his right arm, a huge flame suddenly spewed out. Mirror fire. In a mode with more concentrated firepower than the fire fist. Just now, a large swath of flames, like a tsunami, rolled towards Whitebeard. Seeing this, Whitebeard still did not dodge, but instead he held the sword in both hands, the long naginata sword, and swung it hard again. Boom. On the battlefield, there was a sudden sound of wind and fire. The next moment, I saw a large flame of flames rolling over from both sides of Whitebeard's body like a huge wave. And in the middle of the fire wave, like a boat being split apart, at this time, an empty rift valley suddenly appeared. Even at the other end of the rift, Gino's body could not help but shake due to the impact of the strong airwave. What? Kino looked in disbelief. The huge wave of flames, actually, was completely split directly. A slash like slicing the ocean. Who was that guy with Whitebeard? Crack. Whitebeard thrust the naginata into the ground beside him. Then, his feet moved violently. The next moment, the huge body has already arrived in front of Kino. Gino's pupils could not help shrinking. In front of this Whitebeard man, he even felt an indescribable coercion. It's like a god, looking down and staring at the mortals below. In an instant, due to the strong shock and the unspeakable coercion, Gino's brain was even temporarily disconnected, and his body seemed to lose control, standing in front of Whitebeard. Murderous look. Just the momentum, the convenience has made him unable to move. Whitebeard, on the other hand, raised that rock-like iron fist unceremoniously. Bah. The battle between Whitebeard and Mara Fruit was decided in a blink of an eye. All of this seems like fate. Because, in the original book, Ace, Whitebeard's son, was also run over like this. You lousy is your lousy. Seeing that Whitebeard slapped Mara Fruit capable Gino with a punch, Sha Luo couldn't help but complained secretly. Sheesh. At this time, a long leg in front of him swept sharply. Sha Luo's feet had already started, and it flashed in an instant. While Whitebeard and Kino were fighting, on Sha Luo's side, the demon girl Guy Li, seeing that Mero Mello was ineffective against Sha Luo, had already launched a melee attack, and wanted to use a direct kick to forcibly petrify the opponent. As for Sha Luo, because she was still adjusting from the Big Mom proposal fantasy, just now, she flashed a few times and did not fight back immediately. His evasion ability is quite reliable. Guy Li kicked the air again. That kick was on the trunk of a big tree behind Sha Luo. Crack. In an instant, I saw that the trunk of the big tree was directly petrified. This woman's physical skills are better than the flower fruit just now. Even if she kicks her, she will turn into petrification. Sha Luo thought to herself, since that's the case. Immortal state. The invisible natural energy began to pour into Sha Luo's body instantly, and a faint, golden halo appeared near Sha Luo's body. Then, Sha Luo's figure flashed quickly. In the next instant, Gairi, who was about to pursue him, but had not started, came to his side. What? In Guy Li's eyes, there was a sudden shock. But at this time, the sharp blade light flashed in an instant. Sheesh. Damn it. Totally unexpected results. 4 of the 7 column officials were killed in less than a quarter of an hour. And, each battle lasts no more than a minute. If the previous, Diamond, Adrian and 100 Hands, Dido were still underestimating the enemy, the following, Fire Fist, Kino and Yan, Girl, Guy Li, their rapid defeats, I am afraid it is not a big deal. To be able to complete 2 quick kills in such a short period of time, those 2 invaders are no longer ordinary things. Is it Ross's, or the subordinates sent by the one-eyed dragon? However, even the Dark Emperor Ross's, who is as famous as himself, or the one-eyed dragon Isaac, the most elite cadres under their command, have not been able to quickly kill their 7 pillars twice in a row, right? West's face was ashen. He has a habit, or he has his own majesty, that is, a few bugs in a mere existence. Whether or not the gods will do it myself, it's up to me to decide. But now, the 4 members of Chijuchen on the island have all died, and the other ordinary cadres are also sent to die. Therefore, he has a rare situation where he had to do it himself. Lord Thor. Seeing West's livid face, a newly promoted cadre asked inexplicably. Hearing the cadre's voice, West couldn't help feeling even more unhappy. A bunch of useless stuff. Although sending them out is also a death sentence, but send it away. Anyway, this kind of subordinates, you can find a bunch of them later. Chijuchen was quickly killed twice in a row, and even forced West to do it himself. He was upset and was looking for something to vent his anger. Then, he glanced at the dozen or so ordinary cadres around him. On the way to this shrine, at 4 o'clock, there are 2 intruders with good strength. You all dispatched and brought their heads to see me. Hearing his words, everyone was secretly shocked. There are basically not many of them who can become the cadres of the Thunder God pirates. After a quick thought at this time, they immediately understood that the 7 pillars, sent out earlier seemed to have suffered setbacks. In this case, if you go again, won't you die? However, although they thought so in their hearts, apparently none of them dared to open their mouths and question Lord Thor in person. Yes, Lord Thor. Several people responded in unison. We can only rely on the number of people to see if we can kill those 2 guys. Maybe he can grab people's heads, get some credit, and be promoted to the new 7 pillars. In this case, be careful for a while. Since those 2 guys have been able to defeat the 7 pillars twice, it seems that they are indeed not ordinary characters. At that time, it would be better to let other people take the lead first. After thinking secretly in their hearts, everyone went out of the shrine, and went in the direction West said. It didn't take long before Sha Luo and Whitebeard appeared. This time, it seems that there are a lot more people. Looking at the dozen or so cadres opposite, Sha Luo sighed helplessly. This is not a computer game. Fighting mobs can increase experience. This kind of small soldier does not explode experience or equipment. It is really not good at all, but it is, you still have to fight. Annoying, really annoying. Like a fly, you don't get much benefit from swatting it to death, but you still have to. Goo la la la. While beside him, Whitebeard smiled and said, it's really troublesome to fight like this. So, let me show my hands here. After speaking, he took a breath and frowned. Seeing this, Sha Luo couldn't help but sigh. There is no doubt that Whitebeard is going to launch. Hockey at Conquerors? Sha Luo was equally attentive. The next moment, an invisible coercion swept through in an instant. As if the waves rushed through, on the opposite side, all the cadres suddenly froze. Their faces were all cold and white, and then, plop, plop, like a human figure made of straw, all the cadres fell. No one is spared. Even Sha Luo couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart and her body became a little weak. But then, the powerful immortal state also started in time, and some natural energy poured in quickly, making Sha Luo feel refreshed instantly. Call. Sha Luo exhaled slightly. What I didn't see in the original book in Summit War, this time, I actually let myself see it. Conqueror's Hockey of the Prime Whitebeard. Is this the rumored Conquerors? Sha Luo asked. Gu la la la. Whitebeard smiled. It hasn't been fully used by Master yet, and it has also affected little friends just now, but it doesn't seem to be in the way. After all, unlike the Straw Hat Luffy in the original book, neither Whitebeard nor Sha Luo have a master like Rayleigh to specifically guide them. The hockey of the 2 people find a way to open it and cultivate it by themselves, so it will naturally cost more for a long time, as strong as Whitebeard, saying that he has not yet completed all the operations of Master Conquerors, it is estimated that he is not humble. What's more, some things are constantly strengthened in battle, and it is not possible to reach the peak directly by practicing alone. However, although there is no complete master in the fineness of operation, the strength of this hockey, there is no doubt, has almost surpassed New World. It's okay, I can barely bear it. Sha Luo also smiled. Having said that, the 2 of them frowned and moved at the same time. Newgate. Sha Luo. The 2 exclaimed at the same time. Then, flash around quickly. At the place where the 2 of them were standing, in midair, a large number of beams of light had already appeared. And in the blink of an eye, it merged into a torrent of lightning. The next moment, endless thunderstorms descended from midair like a river descending straight down, heavily bombarding the place where the two stood just now, as well as the fallen cadres on the opposite side. Boom. Ah! In the strong thunder, the voices of the cadres screaming suddenly came. At the same time, a figure with thunder and lightning, condescendingly, appeared in the air. Whitebeard's pupils shrank. Gu la la la. Thor, West, even killed his own subordinates. The figure floating in the air with thunder and lightning is one of the 3 Emperor-level figures who have dominated this sea area for 20 years. Thor, West. On the ground below, the more than 10 ordinary cadres were first stunned by Whitebeard's powerful conquerors, and then, under completely defenseless circumstances, were directly bombarded by West's thunderstorm. At the same time, when a large deep pit was blasted out, most of the cadres at the bottom of the pit had been blasted black, and there was basically no breath. They are just a bunch of trash fish who are not qualified to serve God. West looked down condescendingly and arrogantly. Who are you two? The nameless pirate, Edward Newgate, Whitebeard said solemnly. Idle people, Sha Luo. Sha Luo also declared his name. While they were talking, in the distance, seeing the cadres who had been dispatched collectively in the thunderstorm that fell from the sky just now, many residents could not help but look here in shock and fear. That is, Lord Thor? What about the officers? Lord Thor is confronting those 2 men. Shish! What nonsense! What is a confrontation, Lord Thor? Lord Thor must have killed them instantly. If there is no instant kill, it's just that God wants to play them. Seeing Whitebeard and Sha Luo confronting West, many people couldn't help but raise a glimmer of hope. After all, on this Vegas island, not only do they have to accept bullying at any time, but they don't even have the right to secretly say a bad word. Because God can hear the words of any person anywhere on the island. If you slap you in the face, you have to laugh and praise the other person, not only in person, but also in private. What does it feel like? If anyone can end this domination, it is simply a hero sent from heaven. However, although there is such a glimmer of hope, no one dares to expect a lot. No one even dared to say it. After all, everyone on this island understands the power of Thor. Therefore, everyone can only secretly hold expectations in their hearts, while verbally supporting God, and at the same time pulling a distance, so as not to be affected. Edward Newgate, Sha Luo. Hearing Whitebeard and Sha Luo's respective names, West said arrogantly, a name I haven't heard before. It doesn't matter, Whitebeard said. We're not here to take refuge anyway. It seems that I am really confident, West said. After he finished speaking, the thunder light of Ziz had already begun to appear on him. On the ground opposite, Whitebeard and Sha Luo were already fully alert. In midair, West's whole body quickly released a large number of silver thunders. The huge thunderlight quickly gathered into a large bird in front of him. 30 million volts. Thunderbird! West shouted angrily, and the next moment, the huge Thunderbird rushed towards Whitebeard below. Seeing this, Whitebeard's figure flashed quickly. Or to be precise, Whitebeard got out of the way early before West made his move. Boom. The next moment, the Thunderbirds bombarded directly where Whitebeard was standing. On the ground, there was a sudden roar, dust and smoke fluttered, and rocks splashed. Oh? In midair, West's mouth, corners slightly raised. This guy's reaction is really good. You know, Thunderbird's attack speed is close to the speed of light. If you try to dodge after the Thunderbirds have already started to pounce, it's too late. But, as Sha Luo said earlier in response to Whitebeard's inquiry, I can't run as fast as a bullet. Am I bound to be shot by a 3-year-old with a gun? Bullets, of course, are fast. However, no matter how fast the gun and the fast bullet are, to complete the shooting, you need to aim first. You need your eyes and brain to confirm the opponent's position, confirm whether you have aimed at the opponent, and then you need the brain to say, I did aim. It's time to shoot, and then the brain needs to issue a shoot command to the body. In this way, even if the finger can pull the trigger at the speed of light, even if the bullet can be shot at the speed of light, it will take an unavoidable period of time from raising the pistol to aim until the bullet officially flies out. And during this time, for the real masters, it is enough to make changes in advance. The moment before the Thunderbirds pounced, Whitebeard had predicted everything accurately and avoided it perfectly. Then, he didn't have the time to look at the bombardment, his feet moved again, and the whole person jumped up instantly. The next moment, it appeared in midair not far from West. Then, the naginata in his hand waved quickly. Shish. Seeing Whitebeard's slashing sword, West didn't dare to rely on Logia like Enel in the original book to avoid dodging. In the place where Whitebeard was about to cut, he elementalized in advance in an instant. This is New World after all. West, as the overlord who has dominated for many years, still understands things like armament hockey. Whitebeard's armed naginata slashed in the air. And West then quickly turned his body into lightning. Then, with the convenience of elementalization, in the air, move the position instantaneously. In the blink of an eye, he was 6 or 7 meters away from Whitebeard's side. And then, 30 million volts, Thunderbeast. Z. With West's roar, a wolf-shaped thunderwolf quickly formed, and immediately rushed towards Whitebeard, who had no place to stand in midair. Seeing this, Whitebeard's expression didn't change, but he turned slightly to the side. The naginata in his hand, just before the thunderwolf launched the attack, was already facing the direction of the attack, and he swung it vigorously and quickly again. Boom. In the air, there was a muffled sound of collision. What? West's pupils could not help shrinking. In midair, the thunderwolf, who had been rushing towards Whitebeard at high speed, stopped forcibly in front of Whitebeard's naginata. As if, hitting an absolute barrier, an invisible barrier that can defend against thunder and lightning. West was shocked. That tall and strong man with a strange meniscus-shaped Whitebeard, he actually formed an instantaneous barrier with his armed color. Although the barrier is like the wind and dissipates in an instant, but what kind of armament is needed for this? You must know that although the armed color has the effect of attacking the Logia entity, when fighting against Logia, and can also strengthen its own attack and defense, the armed color of ordinary people does not have absolute anti-burn, anti-freeze, or the effect of lightning protection and electricity protection. At most, it is to improve the defense of one's own flesh and body, and to compete with the fruit's ability a little, so that one's own degree of being burned, frozen, or lightning or electric is less. But in front of him, this Whitebeard man, his armed color, was so powerful that he seemed to be able to form a temporary armed, with his naginata, he forcibly drew an invisible barrier called armed color in the air. Then, he blocked his own thunder and lightning abruptly. West couldn't help but take a deep breath. It was the first time he had encountered such a guy in the decades since his debut. On the opposite side, after forcibly defending West's Thunderbeast, Whitebeard fell steadily to the ground. Then, standing directly on the ground, the naginata waved again. Call. In an instant, the strong wind pressure, like splitting the air, rushed towards West. West's heart froze. Under normal circumstances, the wind pressure formed by this kind of slashing cannot be attached to armament hockey. After all, air does not have a fixed shape like a sword, just like you cannot make a human shape out of air and then put armor on it. But at this moment, the Whitebeard man's slash made him involuntarily feel that part of the airflow even included his armament hockey. West flashed for a moment. Whitebeard's slash passed by. In an instant, West felt a feeling of being hit and bruised on his body. Sure enough, he is a guy with a little bit of ability. West took a deep breath and said solemnly, Whitebeard man, Edward Newgate, God remembers your name. Goo la la la. Hearing this, Whitebeard smiled disapprovingly. If it seems like it can be won, it's better to save it until you win? Yes. West's brows furrowed deeply. What Whitebeard meant was that he was no longer sure of winning. At this time, in the distance, the voices of some residents entered the ears of West, who had seen and heard well. Look, that man, actually blocked Lord Thor's attack? What nonsense. Lord Lei Shen. Lord Lei Shen is obviously just toying with those two enemies. That's right. Although he was still touting Lord Thor, the expectation in his voice could hardly be concealed. After being ruled by West for many years, this is the first time they have seen with their own eyes a person who can compete with West for a few times, and it seems that he has not fallen behind. And he has a companion who hasn't even shot yet. In this case, West's reign, maybe, really will end suddenly today? West's face was ashen. A bunch of damn things, let alone lousy, won't lose. Even if they lose, they won't let you live. Thinking of this, West's body became elemental again, and in the form of thunder and lightning, he went high into the sky. Seeing this, Whitebeard and Sha Luo couldn't help but frown. After flying quickly into the sky, West's whole body began to release a lot of lightning. The thunder and lightning rushed into the higher air. Soon, a rumbling sound could only be heard in the air. At the same time, it was clear that it was a sunny day, but at this time, thunderclouds quickly became denser. Lord Thor. On the ground, countless residents couldn't help but look terrified when they saw the thunderclouds and West in midair. Because, this dense thundercloud shrouded almost the entire Vegas island. If the above thunderstorm hits, not many people will survive on the entire island. Lord Thor, what are you going to do? I heard he was fighting the enemy. But, it doesn't have to be like that, right? If you blow it like this, we will be bombed to death. Hurry up and hide. But with such a big attack, where do you want to hide? The increasingly dense thunderclouds not only pressed the sky above Zai's head, but also weighed heavily on everyone's heart. This guy. Looking at the situation in the sky, Whitebeard couldn't help frowning heavily. As I said 8 years ago, although they are all pirates, he completely disagrees with West's style. That style is get a good look at the horror of God, the authority of God, and the power of God. Thunder Island. When countless thunderclouds were concentrated over the island, West shouted high in the sky. Then, thousands of mad thunder, overwhelming bombardment. Boom. 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 On the island of Vegas, lightning flashed in an instant. On the ground, countless residents screamed and screamed. Those wild thunders hit countless civilians, not only. Moreover, after bombarding them, all the thunder and lightning did not disappear immediately. It was like a fixed landscape or an infinitely repeating program, bombarded infinitely from the sky. This is not a one-time attack. Instead, as West said, the entire island has been turned into an island of thunder, with permanent thunder. Seeing this, Whitebeard and Sha Luo quickly flashed past the first wave of attacks, and their pupils could not help shrinking at the same time. The awakened state of Thunder Fruit. Although Whitebeard didn't know much about Devil Fruit's awakening, at this time, Sha Luo's guess was not wrong. Worthy of being one of the top characters who have dominated New World for many years, Thor, West is completely different from Enel, who was ignorant in Sky Island in the original book. He turned out to have developed Thunder Fruit to an awakened state. Just like the battle between Aokiji and Akainu in the original book, which turned Punk Hazard into a permanent ice and fire island, Thor, West, at this time, directly turned Vegas Island into a continuous thundercloud, the Island of Thunder, with permanent thunder. Sha Luo couldn't help but think of a certain island of thunder that was also mentioned in the original book, where the supernova monk once arrived. Could it be this? But no, Vegas Island is located in the depths of the New World, and the location of that island is completely inconsistent. But now, there is no time to think about those slowly. Sure enough, he is a powerful guy. When Sha Luo was thinking quickly, nearby, Whitebeard frowned and said in a deep voice, "But, treating your own people like this, is this your way, West?" When his voice fell, a powerful and familiar pressure suddenly rolled up again nearby. Hockey at Conquerors. However, unlike the previous Conquerors that focused on attacking, this time, Sha Luo felt more, but it seemed to be an invisible anger. Wrath of the King. Then, I saw Whitebeard raised his Naginata sword and slashed towards the sky. Boom. High in the sky, there was a dull sound soon. At the same time, a shadow shook. Sha Luo quickly looked towards the thundercloud. At this time, I saw the thundercloud, which was completely controlled by West. At this time, it seemed to have received instructions from other people. Like the Yangtze River, the turbulent waves rolled, and a large number of thunderclouds came from behind him and Whitebeard, in the direction of the opposite West, surging over. Thunderclouds. Thunderclouds are hitting each other. On the ground, some residents who were lucky enough to escape the first wave of bombardment just now and were careful not to be bombarded by the subsequent lightning strikes, someone shouted out in shock. Layan in the east, it seems. It seems to drive the Layan in the west out of the island, someone else exclaimed in surprise and joy. Impossible. What kind of battle is this? No matter which hero it is, as soon as possible, let this end. If the people on Vegas Island were still afraid of West's lightning strike, and therefore did not dare to show any resistance, then at this moment, the mad thunder has been bombarded anyway, and there is nothing to fear anyway. No matter who it is, as long as it can end all this as soon as possible and end the almost hopeless reign of Thor, then, he is the biggest hero on this island. On the ground, the surviving people shouted. And high in the sky, the thundercloud surging past from behind Sha Luo and Whitebeard, at this time, continued to suppress the thundercloud on the opposite side. Although all thunderclouds were originally created by West, they should only be controlled by him. However, the highest realm of conquerors is that it can influence the world by itself, make the world startle, and change the color of the situation. You bastard. High in the sky, West's face was ashen, and he looked at Whitebeard, who was equally angry on the ground below. He never imagined that he developed Thunder Fruit to the point of awakening, and then created the thundercloud, which should have been under his absolute control, would actually obey others and then suppress himself in turn. On the other hand, Whitebeard, at this time, frowned similarly. If it is said that the unarmed civilians were unintentionally affected in the Battle of the Masters, that's all. The strong have no obligation to make way for the weak. However, West's Island of Thunder was obviously intended to shroud the people of the entire island. This kind of deliberately attacking unarmed civilians is no longer what a master should do. The anger in the whole body was even transformed into haki, and it suppressed West's thundercloud fiercely, which was different from the Conqueror's released when he fought against more than 10 cadres before. In this battle with West, Whitebeard the Conqueror's, there is no small improvement. It is such a top duel that makes this man who is destined to become famous in the sea officially go to the top. In the same way, for those who watched such battles up close, it was also an eye-opener and deeply felt the vastness of the world. But even so, the Thunderfruit's convenience in speed and floating still allows West to maintain a certain advantage. To put it simply, if this guy doesn't want to be a strong man, if he just pulls away and fights, it will indeed be more troublesome. It is easy to suppress him, but difficult to kill him. Speaking of which, Newgate, Sha Luo said suddenly, only to hear next to him at this time, if I make a move, it will disturb the duel between the two of you, right? Hearing this, Whitebeard turned his head slightly and looked at him. A guy who kills people who follow his subordinates and the civilians under his rule is no longer a respectable opponent. Whitebeard said solemnly, this battle is about life and death, not me and him. Decide the winner. Learn. Sha Luo said slowly. Then, take a deep breath. Immortal state. A faint golden halo soon shrouded his body. Then, shish. Sha Luo's figure flashed, avoiding the continuous falling thunder and lightning, and the whole person was already in the air. Then, his feet stomped in the air and charged towards West in the high sky. Seeing this, West frowned unhappily. This kid finally made his move. Moreover, it turned out to be an air combat type. On West, a lot of lightning flashed quickly. Then, I saw that thunderlight, forming a kind of barrier like a hemisphere. Then it quickly spread towards Sha Luo, who was rushing up below. Lightning barrier. Thunder screen burst. When the expanded lightning barrier and Sha Luo were about to collide, West shouted angrily. Boom. The barrier of lightning suddenly burst like a bomb, releasing a large amount of current inside instantly. Ding. At the same time, in Sha Luo's mind, there was a clear sound from the system. Sha Luo was overjoyed. This time, I came to crusade West with Whitebeard, firstly to gain experience and gain some knowledge, and secondly to have a good relationship, so 8 years ago, he took over Whitebeard's crusade West together, invite. But 8 years later, he has another purpose. That is, ding. Easter egg 6 successfully triggered. Easter egg 6. Electromagnetic field. The great pirate West, who currently dominates the New World, is a Thunderfruit person. It is possible to comprehend the electromagnetic ability that is similar to it but has other electromagnetic abilities, only for host, the spouse of the host, or the person who has a direct blood relationship with the host is valid. Currently, he has successfully obtained the power to control the electromagnetic, and obtained the basic abilities, discharge, electric field maintenance, electromagnetic ejection. Other abilities or skills can be developed by yourself. In an instant, Sha Luo felt a special force flowing through her body. And quickly and completely integrated with itself. It seems to melt into every cell of the body and completely become a part of himself. On the opposite side, the lightning barrier that had suddenly exploded in front of him, the large amount of current it released, at this time, after a certain defense of his own armed color, there was no sense of killing. Even, make yourself a little bit refreshed. As if the battery was charged. Being electrocuted, but the spirit. Sha Luo quickly lowered her head slightly, looked at her palm, and focused at the same time. Ziz. The next moment, I saw an active arc already beating on my palm. And, that arc, no doubt, is completely under its control. Pretty. Sha Luo couldn't help but compliment in her heart. Flying in midair at this time, he quickly glanced at the descriptions of the 3 skills, discharge, electric field maintenance, and electromagnetic ejection. Discharge. It can consume a certain amount of physical energy and release a large amount of lightning to attack the target. The voltage can be freely manipulated from 1 to 200 million volts. Electric field maintenance. In addition to actively applying an electric field to itself, the electric field in the body is kept at a stable level. When encountering an excessively high external electric field that exceeds the level of the ordinary human body, it will consume a small amount of physical strength and automatically convert it into physical energy. This process also consumes physical strength. And physical strength recovery. Generally the recovery amount is greater than the consumption, or there may be exceptions when the physical strength is too low, or actively spread the excess electric field outward. Electromagnetic ejection. Electromagnetic energy can be used to push the ejected object outwards at high speed. Object of use. Conductor, including itself, when using it on its own, due to the weak conductivity of the human body, it is necessary to use a higher intensity electromagnetic force, and it needs to have the corresponding physical strength. Otherwise it may be difficult to withstand sudden acceleration or sudden deceleration, or the ejection speed needs to be limited. It can also be equipped with metal shoes or metal armor for easy ejection. Seeing various descriptions of electromagnetic ejection, Sha Luo couldn't help but be surprised and speechless. Brother, this is a super electromagnetic gun. However, not only can he eject coins like a certain tsundere girl in the anime, but he can also eject himself. In addition, the system even suggested that you wear a pair of metal shoes to facilitate ejection, which is almost like the original book where Fujitora is standing on the floating stone and flying, can play. However, now is not the time to rant about this slowly. Sha Luo was still in midair at this time. After breaking through the thunder screen burst just now by West, Sha Luo moved his feet and continued to leap into the sky in the face of the thunder and lightning that was still pounding in the air. This guy, high in the sky, West's pupils shrank, his face shocked. He even prevented his own lightning. And, still seems to be the same perfect defense as that Whitebeard man? When did your own lightning become so preventable? This is impossible. West looked in disbelief. Even on the ground, while Whitebeard continued to suppress West's thunderclouds, he couldn't help but let out some admiring light in his eyes. Was it because he was confused? I seem to have noticed just now that the little friend named Sha Luo, he was able to discharge? It is really incredible. After all, he is not a thunderfruit-capable person, and he is not so easy to be confused. However, whether it can discharge or not, that guy perfectly prevented West's lightning, which is an indisputable fact. Amidst the surprise of the two, Sha Luo continued to leap into the sky, quickly comprehending the new energy gained in her body, and at the same time thinking secretly. Because I have eaten that pangolin, I already have a good physical strength, but now, with the immortal state turned on, the physical strength has improved even more. In this case, moonwalk, electromagnetic ejection. After launching another moonwalk, Sha Luo finally used the electromagnetic ability that she was initially familiar with. As the system says, if the human body suddenly encounters excessive acceleration or deceleration, the body will have difficulty adapting. Therefore, although Sha Luo has long practiced the sudden acceleration when using shaving, and has eaten the egg pangolin in the immortal state now enabled have also brought his physical strength and adjustment ability to a very high level. However, he still starts moonwalk first, and then starts the electromagnetic catapult. The two were used successively. With this two-level accelerate method, which perfectly combines two high-speed skills. The next moment, Sha Luo's speed suddenly became faster. Although he can't directly turn into lightning and move as fast as the opposite Logia ability West, but now, he is also like a Paramecia, electromagnetic fruit ability, a Superman in charge of the power of electromagnetism. Whoa. Sha Luo couldn't help taking a long breath of pleasure. This speed is very good. And moonwalk again. Electromagnetic ejection again. Lousy can also bounce repeatedly in the air and keep going. At a faster speed than the ordinary moonwalk, Sha Luo's feet and body carried the arc caused by the electromagnetic field used to eject him, and in a blink of an eye, he rushed to a place not far from the high-altitude West. This guy. West was shocked. Not only was he surprised that the young man actually protected himself from lightning, but he himself is also electrified? This is impossible. There is only one thunder fruit, he is still alive and well, how could he also have the ability of lightning? It must be a trick created by other means. Thinking of this, West took a deep breath, and a lot of lightning flashed from his body. The strong thunder light soon formed a huge thunder tiger in front of him. 60 million volts, thunder tiger, ha! The huge thunder tiger dashed towards Sha Luo, who was rushing up, swiftly and violently. Seeing this, Sha Luo also shone a large amount of electric light, like the armor of thunder and lightning, attached to his body. Then, Sha Luo himself, without avoiding or dodging, faced Lehu and charged forward. Boom boom boom. In the sky, there was a sudden loud noise. In an instant, the strong light scatters all around. Even the Thunder Island, where the thunder continues to fall, it instantly shines like an aurora all over the island, making the surviving people involuntarily raise their heads and look up into the sky. The violent collision was over, and high in the sky, I saw West and the figure of a young man, facing each other at a distance of 30 or 40 meters. Look. That man. Who is that man? On the ground, the surviving residents exclaimed in shock and involuntarily. He actually fought against Thor, West, in a high altitude full of thunder and lightning. And doesn't seem to have fallen behind. What a master, what a genius. Even Whitebeard opened his eyes slightly at this time. He really didn't look at it. That little brother, he did. Use the lightning ability similar to West's. Simply amazing. However, considering that 8 years ago, when he was only 14 years old, he was able to run in the air. This guy always has some strange things, so everything is not worth too much fuss about. After all, the world is big and full of wonders. The sea is very vast. In this sea, all kinds of strange people and strange things can happen. You kid, you even have the ability to manipulate lightning? High in the sky, West looked incredulous. Where did you get it? Do you think I'll tell you the truth? Sha Luo smiled disdainfully. Compared to this, Lord Thor, do you still have the calmness of being a god? Damn, West roared. Then, a larger amount of thunderlight gathered on him and released in a blink of an eye. 100 million volts, Brontosaurus. The huge dragon of thunder and lightning rushed toward Sha Luo again in an instant. On the opposite side, Sha Luo also shot when West shot. The same move, I'll give it back to you too, Thunder Dragon. Huh. The two dragons of thunder and lightning collided violently in the sky where the thunder was constantly falling. Boom boom boom. High in the sky, a roar suddenly came again. Just like the explosion of a nuclear bomb, the dazzling light over the island made it almost impossible to open your eyes. Discharge. 130 million volts, West roared. Let's use this amount of electricity for lighting. Sha Luo's voice immediately came. Discharge, 140 million volts. Before his words fell, the violent collision had already unfolded again in the high sky. 150 million volts. West was furious. 160 million. Sha Luo did her part. Boom boom boom. High in the sky, the endless roar made the surviving people below stunned. What kind of battle is this? Thunderbolt versus Thunderbolt. Thor West, he really couldn't knock down the opponent. Come on. All the surviving people couldn't help but pray in their hearts. Of course, not for West, but for the figure on the opposite side who seems to be very young. Call. High in the air, Sha Luo took a deep breath. Ha 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 ha. On the opposite side, West, who had a livid face, finally burst out laughing. Although you can also release lightning, I am very surprised, West said with a smile, but your lightning really is still limited. Said, staring at Sha Luo opposite. West's words are not wrong. Sha Luo's lightning ability, after all, does not rely on devil fruit, but is completely transformed from its own physical energy. Although it can be very strong in a short period of time, but as expected, the consumption is almost as fast as the original book, which is always insufficient physical strength, Trafalgar. Lowe's op fruit. And Thor West, who not only dominated New World for 20 years, but also developed Thunder Fruit to the Awakening. The difference between the two is quite obvious. Hearing West's words, Sha Luo also sighed helplessly. It is precisely that many things have two sides. His lightning ability does not come from devil fruit, so he is not afraid of the sea or sea stone. It can be said that the biggest defect of the ability person can be eliminated smoothly, but at the same time, it also has two other shortcomings. One is that it can't be elementalized like the Logia-capable ones, but more like Paramecia. The second is the speed at which this energy is consumed. Just now, it was quite a blast with West, but pretend to be cool for a while, but lack energy when you're done. The rapid consumption of physical strength even caused his mental concentration to seem to have some problems. This is not the way to go. Speaking of which, among all the characters who use thunder and lightning that I know, my stubbornness seems to be the worst at the moment. For example, Masaka Makoto in Magic Forbidden Books, and Laxus in Fairy Tail can play for a long time. But wait. Laxus? Sha Luo moved in her heart and suddenly thought of something. The next moment, I turned on the system with a little concentration, and looked at the electric field maintenance ability displayed in the system. Then he looked at West on the opposite side, with a disdainful smile on his face. My thunderbolt is indeed a bit limited, Sha Luo said with a smile, but, if you have the ability, continue to bombard me. Hearing his words, West was stunned. This guy, suddenly not afraid, let himself bombard him. Do you really think that I can't add a weapon color to the thunder and lightning, and I can't kill you? Boy, since you are so confident, West said solemnly, then I will do as you wish. As he said that, an unprecedented and huge thunderlight shone around his body. 200 million volts, thunderbolt, destroying Honglei. West roared angrily. The endless thunderlight, like a torrent breaking a bank, like a tsunami soaring into the sky, swept across the sky like an avalanche towards Sha Luo. Sha Luo, on the other hand, took a deep breath, not dodging or dodging, but turned on armament hockey with all his strength and increased his body strength to weaken the physical impact of the electron flow in the opponent's hockey on his body. Then, let the torrent of thunder and lightning drown yourself. Boom boom boom. High in the sky, there was a roar. On the ground, the surviving people, at this time, involuntarily opened their eyes to the maximum. Then, Chu showed a desperate look. That young man, he was swallowed. Why doesn't he resist? Don't dodge. Ah, it's over. The dawn that I almost saw that could end the reign of Thor, has now dissipated as the young man was engulfed by Hong Lei. Humph. High in the sky, there was a contemptuous smile on West's face. That young man is obviously not a thunderfruit-capable person like himself. His thunder and lightning ability seems to be no match for him. Ziz. Boom. Just as he was complacent, at this time, he saw the raging thunder that was like a torrent in front of him, but in the middle, a huge Uzumaki suddenly appeared. As if there was a bottomless suction hole below, a lot of thunder and lightning suddenly rushed into the Uzumaki from all directions. In just a few seconds, the thunder and lightning that was like a tsunami and an avalanche was only the size of a pond. And the suction hole under the Uzumaki finally appeared in front of him. Grumble rumble. Under Uzumaki, Sha Luo opened her arms wide, as if she was holding a large wine vat, and poured the wine in the wine vat directly into her mouth. And as he, drinking from the tank, like this, countless thunder and lightning were directly drinked into his stomach. Seeing this scene, West's face froze. Eat lightning? While he was in disbelief, Sha Luo swallowed all the remaining thunderbolts. Then, he wiped his mouth smoothly. At the corners, there is also a throbbing lightning arc. It's so cool. Sha Luo looked satisfied. Then he looked at West, who was stunned. Thank you for your hospitality. Sha Luo clenched a fist full of power. Eat it, and the power will come out. While he was talking, he saw a large amount of thunder and lightning radiating out full of energy near his body. What? On the opposite side, West almost exclaimed. Actually, really ate all of his ultimate moves, the countless Hong Lei? And, after eating, have you become more energetic? This is impossible. What are you? West roared. What? Don't you recharge yourself? Hearing this, Sha Luo smiled leisurely. Oh, I forgot. Devil Fruit's abilities really don't have this ability. Otherwise, if a guy ate sand fruit, then doesn't he have to eat sand every day to regain his strength? Hearing his words, West was speechless. Charge. Is it really to eat the corresponding things to restore one's own physical strength? What the hell kind of power is this? Come on. Let's bombard as much as you like. While West was stunned, Sha Luo stretched his arms and laughed happily. It's rare to meet an opponent who can restore my physical strength. With you hit. It was such a pleasure. Hearing Sha Luo's words, in an instant, West had a feeling of doubting life. Even if you use the strongest lightning strike, as a result, not only will the blast not hurt the opponent, but, on the contrary, it will restore the opponent's physical strength. How could there be such a battle in the world? Impossible. This is impossible. Not only West thought it was incredible, in fact, even Sha Luo thought it was incredible. The ability to recharge physical strength, even the famous super electromagnetic gun, in a certain anime doesn't seem to have it. And even if he has the ability to recharge, similar to the Dragon Slayer wizard in Fairy Tail, to eat thunder and lightning to recover his physical strength, if he wants to meet an opponent who can discharge, he can't find it except for West. To the second person. But today, I came across this one and only one. Oh yes, and those fur tribes on Zou Island also discharge. But that little power can only be plugged between the teeth. And today, the battle with West, who is an awakened, is truly unique. So, he said cool, it makes sense, because in the future, it will be difficult to find a battle where you are fighting while being charged by your opponent. In an instant, Sha Luo just wanted to say to West. Come on. Blast me with thunder as much as you like, and if you hurt me, I will lose. I like to pretend, I'm not afraid of thunder. However, what he said just now is not much different from these two sentences. Bastard. West was already furious. Since his debut, how has he ever experienced such an incredible battle, and how has he ever suffered such a humiliation? Go to hell. West shouted, gave up the lightning attack, and directly flashed in front of Sha Luo with elementalization, ready to launch a melee attack. As for Sha Luo, her figure flashed quickly. Although he can't use Thunderfruit's ability to move quickly like West, he is not only full of energy and high spirits, but also in the state of immortality. Originally it was only a primary level of knowledge, and it seems that he can directly play to the intermediate level. And this does not take into account the huge influence of electromagnetic power on the perception and color. Unfortunately, I am full of energy now. Sha Luo flashed, and instantly came to West's side, and smiled leisurely, and you seem to be in a mess. His best skill not only can't hurt the enemy, but also adds blood to the enemy. No matter who it is, I'm afraid it will be crazy. What's more, West is still quite a violent person. His mentality was even close to collapse. And if the mentality is messed up, the ability of perception, such as seeing, hearing, and color, will naturally be greatly affected. Bah. Sha Luo punched hard. This punch, both in the state of immortal and armed, also instantly launched the ability of electromagnetic ejection on himself to enhance the offensive. The next moment, West smashed towards the ground below like a cannonball. West was shocked and hated. As for Sha Luo, her figure flashed again. Moonwalk. Electromagnetic ejection. Cranial smashing kick. Sha Luo's arm-colored right leg was raised high with her better legwork. Then, a kick directly on West's forehead. Buzz. West was instantly dizzy. At the same time, the coercion of the thundercloud that had been suppressing him before made him feel a sudden despair in his heart. Then, the body instantly became disengaged. When the heart is shaken, the effect of conquerors will increase accordingly. In an instant, West and even Thunderfruit's ability were a little powerless to activate. Sha Luo, on the other hand, is full of energy, like Rock Lee, who opened the fifth gate in Hokage, kicked Gaara violently, and chased after him again. Bah! Soon, West fell heavily from the high midair like a meteor cannonball. There was a muffled sound on the ground. Looking at this scene, the surviving people on Vegas Island couldn't believe their eyes for a moment. Then, there was a sudden jubilation. Lord Thor was beaten. I was beaten down from the sky by that young man. That young man won. Who is the master? Who is the sacred? All the surviving people almost jumped for joy. God. Beside a rock, a young woman touched her heart with her hand, and her eyes couldn't help but feel excited. On this Vegas Island, countless people have been bullied by Thor for many years, and many people have even been killed because of a few words that violated Thor slightly, and were sanctioned by God, and died. This woman's mother is like that. For a moment, even though I haven't seen the young man's face clearly, even if I let myself marry him immediately, or serve him as a servant for life, I am willing to do so. Of course, the premise is that he will not continue the reign of Thor. Shesh. On the battlefield, Sha Luo also dodged from midair. Then, look at West, who was directly hit into the ground. Gu la la la. Whitebeard's hearty laughter came from nearby. I really didn't expect, Sha Luo, you still have such abilities. In this case, the battle seems to be much earlier than expected. Ended. It's just a fluke. Sha Luo smiled lightly after hearing this. Sometimes I just suddenly comprehend some strange things. This electromagnetic ability was only suddenly realized the moment I was bombarded by him. The previous ability to fly in the air was also, Whitebeard said. That's right. Sha Luo said, that was when I was chased by Sha Luo and Linlin, and suddenly realized. Ha 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 ha. Whitebeard laughed, it seems that you are destined to be different, little friend. Really? Sha Luo said. F*K, you actually saw that I was different and that I was the protagonist? For a moment, Sha Luo spit out in her heart. However, his face was still indifferent. I passed the prize. After the two finished speaking, they stopped touting each other, and quickly looked at West in the field ahead. By the time West was dazed by Sha Luo and then pinned down by Whitebeard's conquerors, his grip on Thundercloud was completely out of his hands. The thunderclouds affected by Whitebeard conquerors quickly engulfed West's thunderclouds, and soon all the thunderclouds turned back to normal thunderclouds, which calmed down after another electric discharge in the sky for a while. In this way, Vegas Island has finally changed from the Island of Thunder, just now to an ordinary island. West's body trembled, and because of his serious injury and mental breakdown, he was no longer able to get rid of Whitebeard's conquerors. He looked at the indifferent Whitebeard and Sha Luo opposite him with disbelief. In this battle, in the first half of the battle, Whitebeard showed his majesty and suppressed West. Sha Luo was just watching. In the second half, it was Sha Luo who showed his majesty and still strongly suppressed West, while Whitebeard played soy sauce for a while. But no matter who shoots, West will be suppressed. In a war, there were actually two people who completely suppressed Thor. This kind of battle is really until the end, and West is unwilling to believe it. Who would have thought that one of the three Emperor-level characters who had dominated the New World for 20 years would be crushed and beaten by two newcomers who had never even heard of their names before? Gu la la la. Whitebeard looked at West and smiled. West, I'm afraid you didn't expect that you would have today, right? You two are really powerful, and it is completely beyond my expectations. West thought for a while, and suddenly said, if you set up a pirate group, you will definitely be able to dominate the entire New World. So can you let me join you? Hearing his words, Whitebeard frowned. I can give you my palace, my pirate ship, and all my subordinates, West continued. I will also do my best for you, with my assistance, +2 the mighty power of Is this your last word? Whitebeard interrupted. His eyes were cold. You. West instinctively felt bad. It really doesn't even deserve the last respect of being a strong person, Whitebeard said solemnly. After speaking, strode forward, and then. Sheesh. Thor, West is officially a thing of the past. On Vegas Island, the people who survived near the battlefield quickly ran over to see Whitebeard and Sha Luo up close and inquire about their plans for Vegas next. However, neither Whitebeard nor Sha Luo are the kind of people who like to take credit for themselves, so they quickly sent everyone back to let them recover from the infinite thunderstorm just now. So, what's your plan next? Sha Luo looked at Whitebeard and said, want to visit this guy's shrine. As he spoke, he glanced at West, who had long since become a corpse. Okay, Whitebeard said, it's better to destroy that kind of thing together. Well, I want to go and see if I have collected anything special. Sha Luo laughed. Really? Whitebeard laughed. That's not bad. Although he does not love treasures, he does not dislike people who like treasures, nor does he object to taking some treasures so that they can do various things in the future. To make the simplest analogy, now that he has two sons, Joz and Marco, at least he needs money to support them. The two then strode towards the center of the island. Soon, under the slight guidance of some residents, they came to a rather spectacular palace. In the palace, all kinds of furnishings are quite luxurious, and in front of it, there is a large golden chair. Gu la. This chair is cut off, it is estimated that it can be replaced by half a boat. Whitebeard laughed. Then cut it? Sha Luo said, it is good. Whitebeard said, raising his naginata, shish. The next moment, the large golden chair slanted and broke into two pieces. The top half slid down, and at this time, inside the chair, there was a golden leather box. Oh? Seeing this, Sha Luo and Whitebeard raised their eyebrows at the same time. And this thing? It seems that there is no need to search through boxes and cabinets to find them. West's treasure secret room is actually under this golden chair. The two stepped forward, and Whitebeard easily opened the box with his naginata. Then, in the box, there were two melons and fruits covered with spiral textures on their skins. Could it be that? Sha Luo frowned. Many of Thor West's subordinates are devil fruit capable users. It can be seen that devil fruit is not too rare for West. But even so, these two fruits were still hidden by him, and they were not eaten by anyone, nor were they used to enhance the strength of the cadres. Thus, there is only one possibility. That is, if these two fruits are eaten, they may even threaten him and himself. This is the so-called devil fruit. Whitebeard picked up one of the cantaloupe-shaped fruits and looked at it. It should be. Sha Luo said. As he said that, he glanced at the treasure box again, and saw a colorful blueprint on the bottom of the box, under the fruit. Sha Luo's heart moved, and then she reached out and pulled out the blueprint. I saw a large number of devil fruit diagrams on the blueprint. Devil fruit Pokédex. And in the second row of the illustrated book, there is a fruit name that is very conspicuous to the traversers. Shock fruit. Sha Luo looked at the pattern above the name. Then, he looked at the fruit in Whitebeard's hand again. Holy crap, it's really it. The gears of fate had already begun to turn like this. What's wrong? Whitebeard said when he saw Sha Luo's surprised face. It's nothing. Sha Luo came back to his senses, pointed to the picture book to Whitebeard, and said, the fruit in your hand. This picture book happens to have a record, called Shock Fruit, and a short description. It is said that it is its paramecia fruit that can cause vibrations at will. Are you causing vibrations at will? Hearing this, Whitebeard pondered slightly. What's wrong? Sha Luo asked. I would like to find some devil fruit for Marco and the others to enhance their ability to protect themselves in this sea, Whitebeard said. However, I have never eaten this fruit before, so I'm not sure if they are really that effective. Excellent, and worth the price of being cursed by the sea, and turning into landlubbers to eat them. This situation is a bit like the Roger Pirates in the original book. Although there is a boat of cattlemen, and they have played against many capable people, but until the clown buggy eats chop fruit in public, everyone still has the effect of fruit. Had a certain skepticism, and was reluctant to eat it at the risk of fear of the sea and seastone until later. Then do you want to try? Sha Luo laughed. Anyway, he has a super Easter egg system, and he can obtain various peculiar abilities in a way without side effects. It is no longer uncommon to eat a devil fruit that is afraid of seastone. Since Whitebeard ate shock fruit in the original book, and it is impressive, then go ahead and let him eat it. After all, if you don't eat it yourself, you can't force it to protect it, right? That's true. Hearing Sha Luo's words, Whitebeard smiled and said, although it's risky, since I've become their father, then let me try it myself. Saying that, without hesitating or being picky eaters, the picture book doesn't say which fruit is stronger. He directly opened his mouth and bit half of shock fruit in one bite. Then, Whitebeard frowned. What's wrong? Sha Luo asked. It smells like shit, Whitebeard murmured. Although he must have never eaten feces, but if there is one thing to describe the taste of devil fruit, it is probably like this. Ha ha ha. Sha Luo smiled comfortably. Whitebeard ate the entire shock fruit in a blink of an eye. Then, focus a little. How? Sha Luo said. Sure enough. It has an incredible power, Whitebeard said. I'll give it a try. After he finished speaking, he inserted the naginata on the ground, and then, slightly bent over, his legs were slightly bent, and his two huge arms were horizontally in front of him, performing the iconic movement in the original book. Then, two rock-like fists, with the backs of their fists, volleyed hard towards the air on both sides. Crack. The next moment, I saw the surrounding air suddenly shattered. Immediately afterwards, the entire palace vibrated and shook violently. Crack. At the foot of Sha Luo, the ground suddenly broke, some rocks rose, some sank, and in an instant, people felt like they were on the swaying waves. And around, because it couldn't bear the sudden, violent vibration and shaking, the whole palace roared, the high roof and the thick walls were broken, and fell or collapsed. Hello. Sha Luo was speechless. The prime-aged Whitebeard, although he just ate shock fruit, this punch is so terrifying. Goo la la la, Whitebeard laughed. It looks like this place is going to collapse. Go out. A 50 Bailey coin suddenly appeared in Sha Luo's hand. Then, toss that coin. Then, he raised his right hand, pointed his thumb near the coin, and flicked it in the air. Boom. The next moment, under the powerful electromagnetic action, the coin left an orange afterimage in the air at 3 times the speed of sound, shot at the falling roof, and instantly shot the rock that fell directly above the two of them. The roof shattered. Then, Sha Luo picked up another devil fruit in the treasure chest. Whitebeard grabbed his naginata, and the two jumped out from above. Boom. Below, the entire palace collapsed. Gu la la la. Standing on the ruins, Whitebeard laughed heartily. I didn't control it well. It seems that the force was too much. However, this fruit, the effect is really good. Then you have to have your own strength, Sha Luo said. As he said that, he held another devil fruit in one hand, the picture book in the other, and looked at the picture book again. Soon, in the picture book, I found the name of the fruit in my hand. Phoenix fruit. Zone fruit that transforms the eater into a phoenix. You demons. Seeing the name of the fruit, Sha Luo was speechless. Marco's fruit. It seems that if he hadn't participated in this battle, in the original book, it was probably Whitebeard who overturned West and found shock fruit in this phoenix fruit. Then, Whitebeard, as a father, took the risk of eating shock fruit to try the effect. Then gave the phoenix fruit to Marco. But now, after putting in such a hand, this phoenix fruit is now in his own hands. So, do you want to eat? Eating is definitely not going to eat. Although the fruit is good, as I said before, there is a super Easter egg system, and now in addition to regular skills such as moonwalk, there are already special skills such as fairy status and electromagnetic field, and it is rare to increase their own weaknesses. Devil fruit. What's more, the immortality of the phoenix fruit is still more focused on defense, which means that if someone hits you, immune to death you. But in the style of Sha Luo, if you can prevent others from hitting, it is definitely better for others to not touch even a single hair of your own. How can you play with others? Let others hit casually. What if someone throws a piece of sea stone? That's probably going to be like the original Marco in Summit War, lying down. Therefore, even if he wants to eat devil fruit someday, Sha Luo is more inclined to the aggressive fruit, which is his favorite style. In addition, it is better to think of ways to strengthen body arts and hockey, as well as the immortal state and electromagnetic field that he has obtained without side effects. This devil fruit is okay. Thinking about it now, West can hide in that kind of place and not eat it for his subordinates. It is estimated that he is even afraid that these fruits will pose a threat to himself. Great. Whitebeard said, in that case, would you like to give it a try? As he spoke, he glanced at the phoenix fruit in Sha Luo's hand. No need. Sha Luo shook her head, though things are good, I haven't decided to be a landlubber yet. What's more, this fruit seems to be flying, and I don't lack aerial ability. In my opinion, it's more suitable for a nimble guy like Marco, and if you're not afraid of becoming a landlubber, it's a good gift to him. As he spoke, he showed Whitebeard the name and profile of the phoenix fruit. Goo la la la, Whitebeard laughed. Speaking of Joz and Marco, it is true that Marco is more suitable for this fruit. But then, wouldn't we have all the spoils for us? It's okay. Sha Luo smiled, they called me second uncle anyway. I haven't prepared any suitable gifts yet, so I just gave them this first. Anyway, this crusade against West was originally invited by Whitebeard to come. Judging from the situation in the original book, even if he did not participate in the war, Whitebeard could still handle it, but at most it would take a little more effort. But now, in the course of the battle, I have not only increased my knowledge, but also gained a powerful ability without side effects. It can be said that when I get all the benefits, I don't have to grab the spoils. What's more, although I didn't expect to live under the protection of Whitebeard in the future, sometimes it was not bad to send a few favors. Okay. Hearing him say this, Whitebeard agreed without any hypocritical politeness. The two looked at the shaken ruins under their feet again, and remembered West's previous golden chair. Whitebeard used his naginata to push aside some large stones on the ruins and chopped the golden chair into several pieces. Don't continue to look for West's other treasures, just leave. On the way back, the two passed by the place where they fought before, only to see the corpses of Fire Fist, Gino, who had been killed by Whitebeard earlier, and Guy Li, Yan, who was killed by Sha Luo, lie there. Thinking of the devil fruit that Yan girl, Guy Li ate, Sha Luo couldn't help but glance at her. Speaking of which, the sweet fruit eaten by this guy should have been eaten by the Queen, Boya Hancock in the original book. But now, having traveled by oneself will not only trigger a lot of butterfly effect. Even if the butterfly effect did not affect Hancock's birth and being arrested by human traffickers and other incidents, if there is a traveler who is familiar with the original work, I am afraid that I will not would keep Hancock trapped in Marie Joy's again for up to 4 years. In this case, will she not be able to eat sweet fruits? It's a pity to think about. After all, sweet fruit, the more beautiful the eater, the better the effect, and it really matches Hancock. What's wrong? Whitebeard said, seeing him look at Guy Leto. This woman. I'm more interested in the devil fruit she eats, Sha Luo thought for a while, but couldn't tell her true thoughts, and then said, it can affect the enemy remotely, it is very suitable for girls, if I have a lovely daughter, I would like to give her such a fruit. Really? Hearing this, Whitebeard smiled and glanced at the corpse of Fire Fist, Kino next to him. I'm more interested in the fruit of this guy. And the previous body became the hardened fruit of diamonds is also very compatible with JOZ. Is that so? Hearing Whitebeard's words, Sha Luo couldn't help but complain. You are right, if something in the original book can happen, Fire Fist will really become your son in the future. And the diamond fruit really made JOZ eat it. I prefer the fruit that can grow arms directly on other people's bodies, Sha Luo said. It's very interesting. Gu la la la. Whitebeard laughed. Well, one day in the future, if I get the 2 fruits that you are interested in, I will give them to you and let you give them to your lovely daughters. Eating is a gift from me. Okay. Sha Luo laughed. Anyway, daughter and woman are only one word apart. At that time, a hero like Whitebeard will not care about them. Then if I get the 2 fruits you're interested in, I'll give them to you too. But it's not always possible to get them. It's all up to the children's luck. Whitebeard laughed. The two agreed so easily. Then, head to the coast. In the meantime, when passing by the corpses of the Diamond Man Adrian and Flower Fruit Dido, I saw that someone on the island was already taking pictures with a video phone bug, preparing to bring the news of the end of Thor West's reign, spread it out immediately. When they saw Whitebeard and Sha Luo appear, those people quickly gathered around them and slapped them wildly. Corresponding news began to spread in the afternoon of the same day. With the flying of the news bird, the news first spread throughout the Thor-ruled area within a day, and then, within 2 or 3 days, it has spread to the entire world. Thor West is defeated. Big news. Thor West was killed by 2 men who had never even heard of their names before, Edward Newgate and Sha Luo. The Thor pirates were destroyed. Really? 2 people killed the Thor pirates? A lot of photos have been posted on Thor Island, Vegas Island. In addition to West, a large number of cadres have also been killed. It seems that only some cadres who happen to be not on the island have survived the disaster. Look. Here are pictures of the collapsed Thor West Shrine, and tons of pictures of the battlefield. It is said that this war has spread to the whole island, and many parts of Thunder God Island are now in a mess. There are ruins after lightning strikes everywhere. According to some eyewitnesses, West showed an amazing ability to keep the whole island of Thor down, but Edward Newgate and Sha Luo who fought against him were even more amazing. They forcibly suppressed West's special thunderclouds, and even ate West's thunderbolts. Eating thunder and lightning. How is this possible? It must be an exaggeration, right? Who knows? However, West was defeated by the 2 of them, which is almost a certainty. This Edward Newgate is quite majestic and powerful, but this man named Sha Luo, looking at the picture, looks like he is only in his early 20s. Is he really that powerful? Yes. It is said that he is the one who eats thunder and lightning. And he can discharge too. No way. East Blue. West Blue. South Blue. North Blue. Grand Line. New World. Countless places and countless islands were shaken by this sudden news. At the same time, I don't know when and which island it started, Whitebeard Man, Edward Newgate and Thunder Eater, Sha Luo, two nicknames, also began to spread widely. Marine Headquarters. Marineford. Hey, I really did it. Looking at the big news in his hand, the 32-year-old Marine Vice Admiral Zephyr couldn't help but admire. For a split second, Zephyr saw the scene when he invited the guy back with him to join Marine, and then the guy said he made a promise to fight West together in a few years. He was only 16 years old at the time, and when he said it, even himself felt incredible, and Alva, who was a rear admiral at the time and was killed in a fight with the Thor pirates, was even more blunt. His chances of success are extremely remote. But, 6 years later, the guy just did it. Alva Rear Admiral, did you see it? Zephyr couldn't help muttering to himself, this guy is really different, haha. Smiling happily, Zephyr took the newspaper and strode outside. One was to tell the Marines in the barracks the news. Second, it's time to think about it and get that guy back to Marine. It was agreed at the beginning, but don't join the pirates, boy. East Blue. The sea near Logue Town. Rayleigh, did you see it? This Whitebeard Man, and this younger boy, actually turned over the legendary pirate group? It's very interesting. On an ordinary pirate ship, a man in his 30s wearing a straw hat had an excited look on his face. Don't you mean to say? Hearing what he said, a middle-aged man with short light blonde hair nearby had vaguely understood what this guy was thinking. Note 1. There is no Oro Jackson at this time. Note 2. Rayleigh was blonde when he was young. And his prediction was soon proved by the Straw Hat Man. Grand Line, it's really a desirable place, Straw Hat said excitedly. Hey, hearing his words, the blonde man could only sigh. Anyway, as long as this guy is interested, no one can convince him. Captain. Instead of this, let's deal with the pursuit from behind. A crew member shouted from the observation deck, the Marine Vice Admiral Garp's ship is chasing it again. What? Hearing the lookout, Straw Hat quickly walked to the side of the boat and looked at it. At the rear, a large warship was approaching quickly. At the bow, a burly man stood there with his hands on his hips. Roger. I must take you down this time. The man shouted, then, I'll go to New World and compare my fists with that Whitebeard Man. Wait, Garp. Hearing the man's words, Straw Hat ignored the previous sentence to arrest him and said loudly, it's me who is going to find that Whitebeard Man and that Thunder Eater. Then you should go, said the burly man. Wait until I go around the 4 seas first, find the most interesting partners from various sea areas, and then go, the Straw Hat said loudly. You bastard, have you thought about the problem well? In the back, Marine named Garp was equally helpless to him. This guy, doing things is really based on interest, what he thinks is what. Then, Garp laughed again, ha 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 ha, West Blue, the land of flowers. A pirate ship with tons of chic, fine carvings. This Whitebeard Man and this young-looking boy solved the big pirate West? Looking at the latest newspaper in his hand, a middle-aged man with a long black beard and a more conspicuous, extremely pointed head like a long cone looked surprised. It seems that West is just like that. Master Green Pepper. This Whitebeard Man is nothing but that kind of powerful guy. After being surprised, the middle-aged man with a spire named Green Pepper, then made a few strokes with his hand on the newspaper. But this hairy boy, did he get famous with this Whitebeard Man? Without that Whitebeard Man, when would I run into him alone? I'm sure I'll get rid of him with a headpick, ha 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 ha. After saying that, he laughed wildly. Grand Line, near Com Belt. Thor West, was killed by this Whitebeard Man and this young guy? On a pirate ship with distinctive red sails and pulled by 2 huge swimming snakes. A rather young-looking woman wearing gold snake-shaped earrings looked at a newspaper in her hand, moved the long eyelashes. Judging from the other newspapers seized on that ship, they all reported the same news. The earliest one was reported 5 days ago. If you count the time when the news came out, it may have been a week ago. And until now, no newspaper has clarified the rumors. Next to it, a woman who looked like a secretary said, it seems that there will be no fakes. Really? The woman said nonchalantly. However, it cannot be ruled out that there is an element of boasting. The secretary glanced at the newspaper again and said, looking at the age of this man named Sha Luo, he is only in his early 20s, how can he be so powerful? Yeah. Nearby, several other tall, short, warrior-like women quickly echoed. How could a genius like Lord Snake who became the 9-Snake Emperor at the age of 15 be everywhere? That's right. Not to mention a man. Look at the appearance of the incompetent men on the opposite boat, and you will know their true strength. He he. This boat is full of women. While speaking, everyone looked at another nearby ship. In other words, they couldn't see the specific condition of the ship at all. Because it was obviously a large sailboat that was supposed to float on the sea, but at this moment, I saw that boat, but it was like a spinning top, spinning rapidly on the sea. Spin, spin, spin all the time. It seems that the sea has no resistance at all, and the air has no resistance, so the ship, like a windmill lying there, even gives the feeling that it can rotate indefinitely. Damn it. Quickly stop our ship. While spinning along with the ship, some men shouted in shock and anger, Emperor of 9 Snakes, Aurora Babena. Humph. Hearing the shouts of the crowd, the tall woman named Aurora Babena snorted in disdain. Then, ignoring them, he glanced at the nearby female warriors with a high look on his face. Let's go. Yes, Lord Snake. The female warriors didn't care about the Empress' arrogance at all. They responded with great respect and enthusiasm, pulled up the anchor, and the "You Snake" pulled the boat and flew away. New World. A sea area. The Big Mom pirate group currently offering a bounty of 50 million Baileys. At this time, Sha Luo's special Linlin, who forced Sha Luo to flee 8 years ago, is facing the latest newspaper, smiling extremely happily. Well. That's great. Since I heard that you lived in Gaosha Island for a while 6 years ago, I have been searching for 6 years, and finally I heard your whereabouts again, Sha Luo. This time, I won't let you leave. Charlotte Linlin smiled happily. Mom. This is my father? In front of Charlotte Linlin, a boy with short amaranth red hair raised his head and looked at Charlotte Linlin, who was extremely tall even sitting there, and said. The boy wore a white scarf like a flower, and even completely surrounded his mouth and forehead. He is now 6 years old. Although he is still quite young, his body is very strong. His name is Charlotte Katakori, the second adopted son of Charlotte Linlin. According to a certain test done by Sha Luo, Linlin used the ability of the soul and soul fruit when he was looking for a suitable baby. He was born with a strong soul, so he was designated by Sha Luo from a very young age. Linlin focuses on training, and, like other adopted sons and daughters, was also injected with soul by Sha Luo when he was a baby. Linlin has the characteristics of half-homets. This quality makes them unable to resist the soul of mother, Charlotte Linlin throughout their lives, but at the same time, it further strengthens the relationship between the two parties. And it has strengthened the qualifications of Katakori and others, because Charlotte Linlin is so powerful. That's right. Charlotte Linlin said happily and solemnly after hearing Katakori's words, I will remember it well, he is your only father, and the most handsome man in the world. Yes, Mom. Hearing this, Katakori, as well as several other boys and girls nearby, replied in unison. Then, a girl wearing a wide yellow hat, with a long neck and long blue hair, who looked only 3 or 4 years old, looked at a newspaper in her hand and muttered, Father actually defeated Thor West, and he is indeed extremely powerful. Of course. Sha Luot. Linlin said happily, so, we will immediately settle the guy named Ross's, turn this sea area into our territory, and then go to meet your father. Come back, understand? Yes, Mom. Hearing her words, Katakori and the others responded in unison again. Ah. New World. Vegas Island. Under a big tree, Sha Luo sneezed heavily. Opposite, Whitebeard grabbed the large barrel and filled the large and small glasses in front of the two of them with wine. What's wrong? Sha Luo rubs her nose. It always feels like someone is talking about me behind my back, and there's more than one person. Gu la la la. Whitebeard laughed. After all, you are a world celebrity now. That's true. Sha Luo said. So, are you really going to leave? Whitebeard said slowly again. Hearing this, Sha Luo was slightly silent. The news of the demise of the Thor pirates has spread far and wide. In the past few days, the other 3 of the 7 pillars, originally under West's command, as well as some subordinate teams distributed on other islands, after learning about the changes on Vegas Island, they either doubted or wanted to take the opportunity to snatch power, and went back to Vegas one after another. Of course, that kind of thing is obviously only for Whitebeard and Sha Luo's reputation, not even the level of experience. During this period, Whitebeard has adopted several more orphans who lost their loved ones on the island of Vegas because of the previous West, or because of this battle. Then, officially prepare to form a pirate group. Yeah. Sha Luo picked up the wine glass in front of him, took a sip, and smiled. I'm really not ready to be a pirate. Although I'm passionate and free, sometimes, maybe I don't like being a thief. Name? A thief is a thief after all, and Sha Luo doesn't like such a name very much. Although forming a gang will appear huge, but if possible, he prefers to be independent like Hawkeye, or one day he joins the Revolutionary Army and directly pushes the world government, and then retire himself or rely on the super Easter egg system. Visit other two-dimensional worlds. And if there is a day to go to other two-dimensional worlds, do you have to say to the other person, "Lousy is the great pirate Sha Luo." In other worlds, pirates are not as compulsive as this world, and it is too cheap to say this. Of course, these are actually secondary. After all, reputation and everything are false, and you are powerful, so others will naturally fear you, and you don't need how powerful your identity is. The most important thing is actually another point. That is, the Whitebeard pirates are basically male. But Sha Luo, even if the era of time travel is a little early, the beauties in the original book are basically not even fertilized eggs, and he is not ready to do it all his life. Even if Whitebeard allowed him to take a woman on board, then the whole ship of men would look at his woman like a national treasure, and that scene would be absolutely embarrassing enough that Sha Luo would be embarrassed. Snapped. Therefore, the day the Whitebeard pirates were established was also the time when Sha Luo left. Name. Hearing Sha Luo's words, Whitebeard pondered slightly. Then he laughed. Gu la la la. Then, maybe one day, we will meet at sea as rivals? Who can say what will happen in the future? Sha Luo smiled indifferently. Although he has no plans to fight with the Whitebeard pirates in the future. It's an old friend again, and it's not good, so I'm so idle to beat him? Second uncle, are you leaving? Hearing the conversation between the two, next to him, Marco, Joz, and several other children couldn't help talking. Those children are all the sons that Whitebeard recently adopted. They are young and old. The oldest is 12 years old, and the youngest is 6 or 7 years old. Among them, only one named Beasta, Sha Luo, is more impressive. A few people, either because the original book ranked low in the Whitebeard pirates, so Sha Luo didn't pay much attention when reading the original book, or maybe they died in countless battles later. However, regardless of whether Sha Luo has an impression on them or not, for them, Sha Luo is the one who rescued the island from West's oppression together with their daddy, Whitebeard, who is second only to daddy among them. Marco was given a precious gift such as the phoenix fruit by Sha Luo. By the way, I also kicked him a few times, euphemistically called, try to see if it can really recover automatically after an injury. Marco. Whitebeard picked up the glass in front of him and took a big sip after hearing what everyone said. Everyone has their own aspirations, and if they disagree, don't force it. This sea is very wide, and it can accommodate different people. Different dreams and different pursuits. Even if your second uncle wants to be Marine, we can't forcibly stop him. Hearing Whitebeard's words, Marco and the others couldn't help but be moved. Even if Uncle Second wants to become a Marine, Dad is not ready to object? This Shang embrace is really like the sea. Yes. Dad. Marco and the others replied obediently, and said nothing more. Whitebeard grabbed the wine barrel again, refilled the wine glass in front of the two of them, then picked up his own wine glass and gestured to Sha Luo who was opposite. Although I know it should be unlikely, if you change your mind one day, you are still welcome to come back here at any time. Or, whenever you want to have a drink, it's alright. It is good. Sha Luo responded, and also raised the glass and gestured to Whitebeard. The two drank their wines in one go. Then, Sha Luo put down the wine glass and stood up. As his uncle, he touched Marco's punk head and patted Joz's already strong shoulder. Then, without further ado, he walked away. Second uncle. In the back, little Marco and the others were nostalgic. However, nothing more was said. With the departure of Sha Luo, the emerging pirate group on Vegas Island finally officially became a team with Whitebeard as the sole core. In this way, the naming of the pirate group has also become simpler. At the beginning of October 1480 in the Haiyuan calendar, the Thor pirates were defeated by two men who had not even heard their names before, Whitebeard Edward Newgate and Thunder Eater, Sha Luo. This incident shook the whole new world. Half a month later, the Whitebeard pirates was officially announced, causing a sea shock in the new world power structure. The Whitebeard pirates became the object of everyone's discussion for a while. However, just over 2 months later, this enthusiasm was diluted by another major event. Marshal Kong, sent to the New World to inquire about the fleet of the Whitebeard pirates, and unexpectedly received surprising news. In January 1481 of the Marine Garden calendar, Naval Headquarters Marineford, the voice of a general in charge of heralds, hurriedly came out. Following the demise of Thor West, another big pirate who dominated the New World for more than 20 years, Roses, who called himself the Dark Emperor, was also overthrown overnight. And the one who defeated him, it is said, was a young woman named Charlotte Linlin. What? Hearing the herald's words, Marine Marshal Kong couldn't help shrinking his pupils. In just a few short months, the power structure of New World has been shaken again. For a moment, Kong suddenly had a bad premonition. That is, all of this seems to be just the beginning. The sea of the New World seems to be ushering in a truly turbulent and unprecedented era. Dark Emperor Rosses was also defeated. Also, the one who defeated him is said to be a woman. And she's still a very young woman, said to be only 26 or 7 years old. Also, I heard that after occupying the Rosie's station, she renamed the original Kuros Island to Coco Island. What is the naming style? In January 1481 of the Hyuan calendar, after the destruction of the Thor pirates, only 3 months later, the news of the destruction of the Dark Emperor Rosses once again alarmed the entire New World, and even the major seas further afield. Except for a certain traveler, no one expected that the power change of the New World would suddenly come so violently. Of course, no one expected that after the 32-year-old Whitebeard and Sha Luo, who seemed to be in his early 20s, the one who defeated another Sea King was an equally young fellow. And still a woman. Charlotte Linlin, New World. Yuan Dark Emperor pirates ruled near the 34 islands that are densely distributed like stars, on a pirate ship with several dilapidated traces, a man with his forehead crooked, looking at the newspaper in his hand. Shen frowned. Captain the Op. I seem to have heard this name before. Nearby, a pirate with his right arm pulled, as if remembering something, said. That's right. Hearing the pirate's words, the Op took a deep breath. At the beginning, the kid who colluded with Newgate, he seemed to have said that he was being chased by a woman. Now think about it, the name he said at the time. Charlotte Linlin. Nearby, another pirate also remembered something and said in surprise. Like Captain the Op and the pirate just now, this pirate is also slouching and pulling his arms. 8 years ago, in a fight with a blonde man and a young kid who didn't have Whitebeard at the time, that guy named Edward Newgate, without a weapon, directly beat them to the point where they broke many bones. At that time, Tiop, who was the first to bear the brunt, was swept by a punch on his chin. Although he flew out immediately, buffering the opponent's attack to a certain extent, his forehead was still severely dislocated, and it has not been repaired until now. As for Livers, Bogas, and others who were also involved in the incident at the time, although they did not deliberately make up the knife because the other party was thinking about their old relationship, it was considered a small life, but they also left behind even 8 years. Indelible scars. Like those arms that were beaten so hard they couldn't lift them up again. All of this has caused their combat effectiveness to shrink further in the past few years. They can only survive by bullying some ordinary people. For more than 8 years, they fled when they saw a strong enemy, and almost never had a formal fight with anyone, which is a miracle survived like that. Originally, they could only continue to mix like this. After all, Edward Newgate was getting stronger and stronger, and he even overturned Thor West a few months ago. That combat power was something they didn't even dare to imagine. But now, what if there was a guy who was just as strong as him, and he would fight for a lose-lose situation? The corner of Tiop had a gloomy arc. That's right, it's this Charlotte Linlin. Tiop said in a deep voice, although the truth is definitely not that simple, but since the kid said this woman's name, it seems. They have already had a grudge, Lives said. Exactly. Theop said, in this case. Ha 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 ha. Speaking of which, he tilted his forehead and laughed. Captain. Next to him, there were many pirates who didn't come over immediately, and asked inexplicably. Tiop, on the other hand, threw the newspaper in his hand. Then look at the nearby pirates. Let's set off immediately, to the guy's station, Cake Island. The revenge that was defeated by Newgate and that kid at the beginning can finally be avenged this time. Ha 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 ha, ouch my jaw. While Tiop grimaced because of the pain from his jaw, the pirate ship raised its sails, turned its direction, and headed towards the nearby islands that belonged to the Dark Emperor pirates, but were now quickly taken over by Charlotte Linlin. Drive fast. A few days later, New World, Cake Island. The young woman Charlotte Linlin, who recently made a sensation in the whole New World, was happily commanding several boys and girls nearby. Most of the children seem to be relatively young, but they already have a very capable feeling. Compant, Amando, and Bree, all dressed up the island for me. When he comes back and sees it, he must be completely satisfied. Yes, Mom. Paraspero, the statue in the center of the island, made of the best materials, understand? Don't worry, Mom. Katakori, Daifuku, Owen, the 3 of you are already 7 years old. Next, if the remnants of Rosses come to attack, the 3 of you are responsible for fighting first, and grow your strength as soon as possible in actual combat. Otherwise, you won't be able to satisfy your father. Yes, Mom. Well. What else? Gorgeous home, lovely daughter, strong sons, seeing all this, he will definitely stay and live with satisfaction, right? Charlotte Linlin muttered to himself leisurely. Because she didn't start her crazy fertility life like in the original book, so at this moment, she is not too blessed, and she, who was originally seeing food as her life, after meeting that man 8 years ago, unexpectedly it is also miraculously able to control his appetite and change into a frantic attempt to catch the man back every once in a while. Therefore, he also did not eat fat. At this moment, Charlotte Linlin looked at a mirror on the side, and saw a familiar figure reflected in the mirror. Whether it was a face or a body, the lines were quite satisfactory. In this case, you can still match the handsome him, right? Because of knowing the existence of handsome, Sha Luo and Linlin, surprisingly, also began to pay attention to the corresponding beauty. The only downside is that it's still a bit too big. But that's okay too. One day, he will find a way to make him as big as himself. Charlotte Linlin looked forward happily, her round eyes narrowed into 2 lines. At this time, outside, a man with a face of playing cards suddenly ran to the door quickly. "Mom, there is a pirate ship at sea that is approaching us," Poker said. However, they played the white flag, and it seems that they came to seek refuge. "Oh?" Charlotte Linlin recovered from his longing after hearing the words of the poker. "Let them come over." "Yes." The poker face quickly ran to the shore. A quarter of an hour later, outside the door, the voice of the poker face came again. "Mom, they are here." Hearing Poker Face's report, Charlotte Linlin glanced at the door. "I saw a few men standing outside the door, with their foreheads crooked, or drooping, pulling their arms, as if crooked and cracked." "Ha ha ha ha." Charlotte Linlin suddenly burst out laughing. Hearing her laughter, Charlotte Dafu and Charlotte Owen, who were still with her in the room, suddenly trembled involuntarily, while the few people who were brought over outside the door instantly changed their faces. It was pale. Plop. Plop. Several people even fell to the ground. Their faces were both helpless and horrified. This woman, just by her laughter, actually made them lose their strength. "Sir, we are here to rely on you, are you?" The pirate-headed, Captain the Op, was both frightened and anxious, lying on the ground and said inexplicably. "You guys, you look like a bunch of trash." And hearing his words, Charlotte Linlin glared at them and said, "You are not even qualified to run errands for me. Come to my cake island to do it." "What? You?" Hearing her words, Tiop and others couldn't help but feel annoyed. This woman, to look at them directly with the eyes of trash and trash, is so deceiving. However, to use her now, I can only hold my breath. What's more, it can't be beaten. After all, they have beaten the great pirate Rosses. Only when she and that Edward Newgate and Sha Luo fight to the death, maybe she will have a chance to step on their faces. Xiao Xiao knows that his strength is low, and he is not even worthy to carry your shoes for adults. Tiop stood up with difficulty and said, "But even so, I still want to come here wholeheartedly, because, Xiao and adults, we have a common enemy." "A common enemy?" Hearing his words, Charlotte Linlin was slightly puzzled. "Who?" 3 months ago, Sha Luo, who defeated Thor West together with Edward Newgate, Theop said loudly. "Oh." Hearing his words, Charlotte Linlin's eyes couldn't help moving, and then, narrowed. 3 months ago, Sha Luo, who defeated Thor West together with Edward Newgate, Theop said loudly. "He is the common mortal enemy of the little in the adults." "Oh." Hearing Theop's words, Sha Luo's eyes couldn't help moving. Then, narrowed. "Sha Luo is your enemy?" "That's right." Tiop's face couldn't help but smile. "There is a play." It seemed that she really knew him. "In this way, your plan will definitely be fine." At that time, the man who brought down the 2 great pirate groups of New World with his own power, is Uncle Ben. "What's your holiday with him?" Charlotte Linlin asked again. 9 years ago, Edward Newgate was still a crew member on the villain ship, the Op remarked decisively, adding, "One day, that kid named Sha Luo ran out of the air, came to the ship, and talked with Edward. Newgate colluded secretly to snatch the villain's boat." The kid named Sha Luo. Hearing him say this, on the opposite side, Charlotte Linlin frowned. The villain couldn't beat that Edward Newgate and that kid, so they stole a lot of treasure. Theop continued, "If not, these treasures can be dedicated to you, Mister, as a gift for joining. Those treasures are worth hundreds of millions of Baileys." "That kid." Charlotte Linlin's brows tightened even more. "And all of this is all due to the man who now calls himself Whitebeard, and that damn brat." Tiop confided loudly, "If you want to slay them." Before he could finish his words, he saw Charlotte Linlin, who was sitting there, had already stood up and took a few big strides before coming to him. Her face was ashen. "Sir?" Seeing the expression on Charlotte Linlin's face, Tiop couldn't help but stop talking, instinctively panicked, and said, "Damn. Kid?" On the opposite side, Charlotte Linlin repeated with a livid face and frowning. "Yeah, that damn brat." Who gave you the right to call him that? Charlotte Linlin exclaimed violently, even a little hysterical in his voice. Theop instinctively felt that he seemed to have fallen into a huge crisis now. However, everything is so unreasonable, because he didn't say anything that might annoy the woman in front of him. And Charlotte Linlin, almost unreasonable at this time, raised a huge fist suddenly. Who else gives you the courage to call him that? Saying that, a huge right fist punched Theop's face, which had already cocked his forehead. Bah! Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the palace. The entire cake island even shook faintly. Mom, what happened? Outside, Katakuri, who had just gone out to inspect the island, walked in quickly. Captain? At the same time, at the entrance of the palace in the center of the island, there were the horrified and frightened voices of several pirates. It's just that their captain, the op, has never been able to answer them again. His head, which had been slapped on the forehead by Whitebeard, was now directly smashed into the rock floor of the palace. Even the brains are like sewage, splashing everywhere. Why do you do this to the captain? Livers, who had been in trouble with Theop, shouted at Charlotte Linlin in horror and terror. We originally came to seek revenge on you. Revenge? Hearing Liver's words, Charlotte Linlin frowned again. Do you want to seek revenge on the old lady? What do you mean? Live said, we don't want to be your enemy. The little devil in your mouth, the most handsome man in the world. Charlotte Linlin stretched out his arms and grabbed the necks of Reeves and Boggess next to him. He is a husband who can't be replaced by my mother. Saying that, he picked up the two of them one by one. Varied, what? Hearing Shah Luat Linlin's words, the pupils of Rivers and Boggess suddenly opened to the widest. Their faces were filled with disbelief. And the next moment, Charlotte Linlin's two arms slammed together. The heads of Rivers and Boggess suddenly slammed into each other like two earth balls. Bah!